Thank you very much. Okay, in the U.S., 1 in every 6 couples is affected by fertility issues. Men can be infertile too, but it seems to be much more emotional for women to deal with. Please welcome Joyce Hagu, Leslie Westfall, April Jones, Sandra Ramirez, and Bonnie Rames, who are all working on becoming mothers soon. One of them actually is now. Also with us is Dr. Hickman from Memorial Hermann. I met you the night that Jackie Garner, who's with the women's ministry at Lakewood Church, said, can you please come talk to our women who are dealing with fertility issues? And it was very emotional. And you were in tears, but you stood up and you said, finally, I'm pregnant.
Yes.
And today?
Yes, today I have my son with me, Joshua Christian. After 3 years of struggle, my husband and I finally had a baby boy. He's 3 months old. And I went through 3 years of, we went to a fertility specialist. We had tests to run and found out that I was the one with the issue. And we did a fertility treatment which failed, and then I actually got pregnant on my own and had 2 miscarriages, both of those times. And the last time, about a year ago, I went through an in vitro fertilization, and actually we got Joshua out of that.
Yeah. And I started with you because I wanted to give women hope out there, because when I met you that night, you could tell that you had been through it. Dr. Hickman, she said that she was the one that had the issue. Oftentimes people think it's always the woman, but it's not always the woman.
It's definitely not. You know, when you break down the causes, you get about 40% for the women, 40% for the men, and about 20% are unexplained. So it's clearly not always, it's an old wives' tale.
Yeah, almost half and half.
Yeah.
Joyce, exciting day for you, because also for you, going through all of this, when you won the Amazing Race, there was money that came with that, and one of the things you and your husband said was, now we can do another round of in vitro fertilization.
Another round, yeah. Uchenna and I have been together for, what, almost 18 years, and never got pregnant. And we finally started trying probably 10 years ago, and we've now done 3 rounds of in vitro. And the last one I actually got pregnant, and so I was pregnant around Christmas time, and I just had to have an abortion in January because it wasn't growing. It actually wasn't growing. So so now we're at the point where we are probably ready to adopt, and have my fingers crossed, because someone just told us about a new baby. So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Are you actually going to hear the heartbeat today?
I'm going to hear the heartbeat today, yeah. So keep my fingers crossed, but hopefully everything works out, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if she's going to go through with it, but I hope so, because we're going to be meeting her.
And we'll talk more about adoption as an option a little bit later on in the show. Leslie, this is so emotional that it makes such sense that this is a group in church where women can bond together, discuss their issues, and keep strong in their faith.
Yes, it is. And that's what we do at Hope at Lakewood Church, is encourage women, encourage them in the Word of God. And I'm no stranger to the issues here. And it's been a 10-year journey for myself, but it's been more of a spiritual one for me. So,
what are you doing?
What are we doing now? Well, I had fibroids and endometriosis and had to have surgery for that. And you think you're going to get pregnant after that, and that didn't work. And so we're just really praying and just pursuing other options, and we're now talking to a new fertility specialist. So,
April,
yes.
what was your situation, and where are you in the process now?
I've been trying to have a baby for about 3 years. I've been married for 10, and I was very successful in talking with a natural doctor and using natural hormones to help get my body back in line. And I found I had a thyroid problem in the process, and I'm feeling better than I've ever felt before. And I did get pregnant in October, had a miscarriage, but what's been helpful for me through this whole process is being part of Hope and making sure I take the focus off myself and rely on God to really be my strength through this journey.
Yeah. Sandra?
My journey started about 2 years ago. I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and I had to have surgery to remove the scar tissue. And then we started fertility treatments with Clomid and IUIs and IVF, the whole gamut. Yeah. And acupuncture as well. We tried that as well. And just recently, a lady came into our Hope class and did a class on adoption, and my heart has always been open to adoption, but it really opened my heart that day. And I went home, and my husband and I discussed all of our options and everything that we'd been going through, and we decided that that fostering to adopt was definitely the route that we were going to go this time.
But it's such an individual choice, and you have to get there, because when you're not ready for that, you know, people come up to you and, girl, why don't you just go adopt? I got 2 kids you can have, you know, that type of thing. And it's like, and they take it lightly and don't understand that it's not a joke with you. With you, and I know for me, there was a while there that I didn't think that I could have a baby. I had a miscarriage because I had my son late in life. I had a miscarriage, and it was so hard because you would look at babies in strollers and you think, well, I hope that's going to be me, and you hate the feelings that you're having, but you get upset when someone's talking about, oh, and he did this today and da 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 da, and you're like, you don't want to hear it because you want that so badly. Do you find yourself in a mix of emotions? And the other thing that has to be so important is not making the marriage fall apart. It seems like men can deal with this a little easier. You know, they're kind of like, well, honey, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But, you know, you're like, because you were the one with the problem, and, you know, your husband's, hey, okay, that's the way it goes. It still bothers you.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's funny, when you said, people say, oh, it'll be okay. People always say, go on a vacation. You know, go relax. Why don't you pray some more? You know, you're just
because obviously you're not praying good enough.
Yeah, I'm not praying good enough. So you know, they have all these things, and it's funny because I had all those same operations too, endometriosis and scar tissue and all those things that you think that'll get rid of it. But you know, they say that it's the last closet sexual disease because a lot of people just don't talk about it because you know you're pretty embarrassed that it's actually happening to you. You're thinking everybody else can have children. What's wrong with me?
Right.
You know, so yeah, it does cause some emotional issues with, you know, between you and your husband, and you know, and just staying together through it, and just knowing too that my husband can go and get another woman, another younger woman.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
but you think about that. You think if he wants to really have his own children biologically, will they leave? Do they really mean it when they say, you know, it's okay, we'll work through this together?
Yeah.
And so can't lose sight of that. We mentioned endometriosis. What are some of the other reasons, Dr. Hickman, that women are dealing with fertility issues? And is it more today than ever before, or do we have a better record of it today?
Well, we certainly talk about it a lot more than we used to. You know, back when my mother was having her children, she was 21. She was the oldest of her group. Everybody's worried about, oh, poor Leon, you know, married at 21, didn't have a child till 25. What's clearly happening is people are delaying childbearing, and with increased years, it just becomes more and more difficult to have a child. So that's one big thing. So the prevalence hasn't changed based on age. That's stayed the same for the last 500 years, but it's just that our generation is reproducing much later in life.
Yeah, but then we hear in the news, woman 65 has a baby. You want to make sure people understand the difference between being able to carry a baby and being able to have your own baby.
Right. As long as the uterus is structurally normal, we can go to almost any age and have a child. So, for example, there was a woman at 69 over in Europe that had a child. Well, of course, that was using donor eggs. She'd been menopausal for about 2 decades.
So she was basically just a vessel.
Right. So she had received a donor egg from a younger woman, probably in her 20s, and they used her husband's sperm, fertilized an egg, made an embryo, and then transferred it back, and you have a very high chance of that working. So when you hear about, and there's a lot of misperceptions, when you hear about a woman that's, you know, essentially, if you pick up People magazine, almost every edition will have somebody that's 47 having twins, and all I did was IVF. Well, you kind of know if you look at the data that there are no successes after 45, pretty much, with IVF nationwide. And so these people are using donor eggs to have a child, and it's very successful at that point.
All right. We do know more about the problems today, though, and so ways to circumvent that. Before we go, I just want to get this out there. When people talk to you, or someone who's dealing with fertility issues, what not to say?
What not to say? Don't ask me if I've relaxed.
Okay.
What not to say? I think sometimes saying nothing is the best, and just the presence, you know. So,
April?
I would say that I would prefer that they not ask me how is it in my journey. I'd rather know that they're praying for me and helping me along the journey.
Yeah. Sandra?
The Hope Group at Lakewood Church has been a tremendous support to get through this, and they're so encouraging, and we pray, and it just makes you feel so much better. The one thing that people say to me is, what about a surrogate? which is an option.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on the
option.
show.
But it's not really what
entails.
you want to hear right now when you're trying to have your own baby.
Yeah, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
And Bonnie?
I would say that from what the Hub Group gave me is to keep believing and the support and encouragement of other women that go through the same challenges.
And here's your little son right here. But it wasn't easy. And again, the point you want to make is that there are times that you didn't know this would ever happen. You didn't give up. And it did in this way. But for a lot of other women, it can happen in another way as well. Ladies, thank you very much for sharing your stories with us. You got to go hear a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So give us a call and let us know what that's like, all right? When we come back, we'll meet a couple who will find out today if they're actually pregnant. And we'll discuss the process they're going through in vitro fertilization and does it work and in detail.